So I just posted the episode 11 video a couple days ago, and then went through and was watching a couple just for my own um, personal experience to kind of go through the last 2 years plus, and realized the episode 10 didn't record fully. So I'm just going to tell a little bit about the end of that episode and what happened when my body crashed. Um, the nephrologist I was seeing at the time uh, was trying to order some shots for me to be able to create red blood cells. Your kidneys produce the hormone that creates red blood cells. And so when your kidneys don't work, you don't create red blood cells the way that you normally would. So we were trying to get those shots, and my body was just getting lower and lower on blood. And so finally one weekend I was chalk white, and my husband called the doctor, and he said to take me to the emergency room. And so we did. And this was when I was still working, and it was on a weekend. We went into the emergency room, and they gave me a ton of blood, just a lot of units of blood. And my husband and I were praying, and he just felt the distinct inspiration that if I kept working full time, that I would die. And so he told me about this, and we worked out a plan. It would take 2 to 3 months of financially planning. We were in the middle of buying our first home, and so we needed the 2 to 3 months of me working to get all that settled and the deal done, and then we would go from there and figure it out financially. And my husband was arranging things with his work and whatnot. Anyway, so that was our plan. And a week later, after going in and getting a bunch of blood, still working, because I wanted to save my sick days as much as possible. Anyway, I came home at night, just felt horrible. My head looked like just a head of cauliflower. It was so big, swollen. And I just remember taking my blood pressure, and it wouldn't even record. So I thought my machine was broken. And then laying my head down at night and waking up 3 days later in the critical care unit. And my husband said what happened is that I went to bed, and I kept moving, so we rolled over to see what was going on, and I was seizuring. And so he jumped up, I kept seizuring. He took me out to the car and put me in and drove me to the hospital. And he didn't know why, but he knew to go to this specific hospital. He passed 2 other hospitals on the way, and when we got there, Christopher Keller, a super good, intelligent nephrologist, was on call that weekend, and he basically saved me. And what had happened was, of course, my kidneys failed, and my blood pressure skyrocketed, and it made me seizure. But through all the process of me being sick, the last few months before that, I had developed TTP, which is another disease, and it crunches your red blood cells and your platelets, and just tears your blood up really bad. And so they started me on plasma transfusions and dialysis, and my kidneys were kind of shot, but they needed to get rid of this TTP, and the way they did it was plasma transfusions. So if you have a BioLife center or a plasma transfusion center or whatnot in your area, it would be great if you could donate a couple times or more, because it's always needed. So in the hospital, I went through 450 about units of plasma, and over 25 days. And my body every day was a struggle to stay with it. And my blood sugars were all over the place. My blood work was all over the place. And after 30 days, I was released and still had to do labs once a day. And it's still in pretty critical condition. But I felt better at home, and my numbers stabilized a little better being home. So what happened was, after I went home, we scheduled a surgery because the plasma transfusions didn't work. My numbers were still crazy. And so they brought in a retired oncologist, hematologist, and he said they used to just remove the spleen if this problem happened. And I am not partial to taking organs out of me or having a surgery in general. And so I contemplated it a lot and prayed about it. And I was praying about it one day, and my sister-in-law walks in. Her name's Susie. And I knew the answer to my prayer because she had her spleen removed when she was about 15 or 16 years old due to a similar illness, and she's been fine ever since. And so I said, okay, we'll go ahead and remove my spleen, see what happens. So they did the surgery, and within 2 days of removing my spleen, my numbers completely evened out for the TTP, and it was gone, which was a miracle. So then we just had to worry about my failing kidneys. And as you've learned in my last videos, I went through the process of getting on dialysis, and that's the reason why. It's because of my crash. And during that time in the hospital, I lost my job because I did not have enough time off or sick days. And I just barely didn't qualify for the family leave. And so we had a lot of prayers coming to us those days. And I know the Lord was listening and that there were angels around me. And Robbie, my husband, asked around and asked our bishop, our minister, for help in finding a job that had health insurance, because my job had health insurance for our family, and I was losing that job. And a good friend offered Robbie a great job with health insurance that started the first day he started work. So we didn't even have a lap in our health insurance, and it was such a blessing. And we appreciated it so much and was very humbled by it. And just seeing the hand of the Lord in action, literally, it was a miracle. So I just wanted to give that little tidbit since the end of that episode was cut off. I didn't even realize it until over a year later. But that's the end of that little tidbit. So I will sign off again, and hopefully you'll watch episode 11, which is my 2-year mark, which I videoed a couple days ago. And I'll just video as time goes on, and hopefully it'll all be happy updates. And if not, then I'm sure we'll work through it and move on to the next step in life. So, see you later.